The internet is an amazing thing. It can spread information around the world in just a few seconds. It is a great tool in educating and organizing people. But of course, not all information is meant to be public. Revenge porn is just one example of private information popping up all over the web. For the victims of revenge porn, this can be embarrassing, painful, and personally damaging. That, combined with the fact that existing laws don't always do enough to prevent future acts, make revenge porn a big problem.
My name is Dahlia Saper. I am the principal attorney at Saper Law, which primarily handles intellectual property, media, and business law matters. Revenge porn is a term that's been coined to define the act of taking a personal video or image taken by a couple or a person during a private moment, and once that relationship is over, the slighted lover or partner takes those private pictures and then posts them for public consumption as a form of revenge.
I mean, I couldn't even begin to attempts to gauge how harmful that really could be in terms of just a sense of privacy, just the damage to the way that people perceive their relationships to one another. I think certainly reputational damages. We all know now, or hopefully know, that when things are on the internet, they're just kind of there, and especially in the case where you see it happening with younger people, one of these days they're going to be people looking for jobs, or people with kids of their own who have to worry about these things floating out in the ether.
I think that if you're the victim of revenge porn, people don't always associate the context of it when they find these videos. So, if someone, an ex-boyfriend uploads nude videos of you online, someone who sees that isn't necessarily going to go, well, that was a product of an ex-boyfriend who hates them and they're trying to get revenge on them. They're just going to know that somehow there's nude photos of you online. So they might start thinking about, well, their judgment is somewhat poor if they're sending nude photos of themselves online for someone to get in the first place.
Certainly, it's incredibly humiliating, embarrassing, distressing to see very, very private pictures of you in such a public forum. So clients that I've had have lost sleep. They've been afraid to leave their home. They've received major, repercussions just from a social perspective within their families and their close group of friends. Professionally, they're concerned that their job may be on the line. So it has real far-reaching implications for the victim. I think it's big enough that we're seeing states actually take such, start passing laws to cover it.
For me, typically, when I go out and get them from the lobby, they're going to be on their phone or on their computer just waiting for me. And then when they come in and see me, sometimes they'll use their computers or they'll use their phone to take notes, or they might email their mom or their sister or their brother or somebody, during an advising session with a question that they knew that they were supposed to ask, but they couldn't remember. So I see them on their phone or on their computers pretty much constantly.
It's something that, with the advent of selfies and social media, it's easier to perpetrate than possibly in the past.
An article in The Independent says that the first revenge porn website popped up in 2010. Since that time, there have been dozens of websites dedicated to posting images of women without their consent that have popped up all over the web. Of course, these images also make their way through traditional social media as well. And there is no way to know how many women this affects, as most victims never come forward.
Until recently, there wasn't really a law that was being broken aside from some sort of invasion of one's privacy, which is a civil cause of action. The state would have to bring any criminal charges. So unless it's an egregious situation and involves other violations, potentially like hacking of a computer, most state agencies and state's attorneys are too busy with other more heinous crimes to set aside time to go after people.
Where in criminal law you have typically a state or a federal government bringing charges against someone, against a defendant, whereas in civil law you're looking at a private party acting as a plaintiff and bringing a complaint against a defendant. So there's the difference in who's party to litigation, and then as well the remedies available. Criminal law is where you're looking at the government pursuing either fines or imprisonment for violation of a law, whereas in a civil case, that's when you're thinking about suing someone for financial damages or some sort of injunctive relief, making someone stop do something or forcing them to do something affirmatively.
And so clients that I've had, we just finalized the revenge porn case. You know, we did it before there was any bill introduced in Illinois. So the causes of action we brought were based in copyright and intentional infliction of emotional distress, as well as defamation, because oftentimes revenge porn is accompanied by vengeful or defamatory statements under the pictures that are disseminated. The remedy would be a financial, payment made. For example, we got a several $100,000 judgment in one of the cases I handled, but that's a long, protracted process. You have to go through the legal system, which can take a year or two before you see a judgment, and then you have to go and enforce that judgment to actually get paid. However, now there is going to be, like I said, many states have passed revenge porn bills and laws, which make it more of a priority for state's attorneys to prosecute these cases.
Unfortunately, I think recent history has borne out that legislature is not catching up with technology in terms of enacting laws that protect privacy or deal with whether it's cybersecurity or things of that nature. The technology and the way things are changing and how we relate to one another through technology is outpacing the law. So my guess would be that that would be a situation where you probably have groups of people who have a more personal interest in this who are pressing and asking for that law. I'd like to think that that's not the case, but I think that's probably what it would take.
I think it's probably more of a critical mass situation. There's been a lot of sites that have cropped up. There's a cottage industry around revenge porn. And also other states followed suit when, like California was one of the first to pass the revenge porn statute. So no one wants to be the last state on the block to take action and do something that, another state's not doing. We're going to have to wait and see whether or not these will be constitutional. There may be some free speech issues with respect to how narrowly tailored these are. And also there's questions as to how far-reaching the bills need to be. For example, there's a case that was recently filed that involves, believe it or not, simulated revenge porn. Simulated because the photos that were uploaded were not of the actual individual. They were photoshopped sex acts where the ex-girlfriend's face was superimposed on other people engaging in sex acts. So as worded, you'd have to make sure that the bill would cover, or should it cover, a situation where it's not an actual invasion of privacy because it's not you. It's just it's putting you in a false light. It's presenting something as fact when it's not. But should something like that fall under the revenge porn statute? Another tool that individuals can use. Now, as I mentioned, it's probably going to be difficult to get a state's attorney to take your case unless it's a really egregious situation. So as long, the other civil remedies will continue to be available. For example, like the case I mentioned, filing it under, trying to get the photos down under copyright theories or under intentional infliction of emotional distress or defamation theories.
It's hard to talk about legislation when we also want freedom. So we want freedom to have cell phones. We want freedom to have, internet. We want to be able to take photos and upload them if we want to, and we don't want government telling us what we can upload and what we can't. So once we start legislating what can be uploaded, then with exception of child porn, but once we start doing legislation, then we're going to start having people angry at losing their freedom.
I think it'll be tough to legislate this federally because these torts are really state-based. So if you're going to go down that road, then you need federal legislation for defamation and false light and other causes of action that are historically state-based. Having said that, because the actions may impact the victim across state lines, and it may be difficult to get the information behind the individual who's done the posting, that perhaps there could be a subset that will facilitate the process used to identify any individual that's posted the statement. So I do think it would behoove us as a country to have a law that states all platform providers require registration prior to posting, even if it's an anonymous. That it will remain anonymous, subject to court order, but that there should be some accountability when something like this is posted. The platform should not get a free pass.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy your time on the internet. And if you or someone you know is a victim of revenge porn, you can call the End Revenge Porn Helpline at 1-844-878-CCRI.